In this video, I'll be explaining the entire timeline of the God of War franchise in chronological order. This will not only include all video games, but also all of the comics, and even some additional lore information that will help connect the entire story a bit better. There's a total of 9 games and 5 comics I'll cover in this video, but before that, we need to explain the setting first. God of War takes place in a world with multiple different mythologies, each with their own gods, monsters, magic, and even afterlife. Although there are many contradictions between these mythologies, they somehow coexist, separated from one another. The biggest chunk of the story takes place in Greece, the land ruled by the Olympian gods. The king of the gods, Zeus, reigns over both man and fellow gods from his divine throne on Mount Olympus. Backstory: Kratos was born in the Greek city of Sparta. He is the demigod son of Zeus, the Greek king of the gods, and a mortal woman named Callisto. Due to being a demigod, Kratos has incredible intelligence and superhuman strength. When Kratos was born, Hera, Zeus's wife, was outraged at Zeus for fathering yet another bastard child, and therefore ordered Kratos' execution. However, Zeus took pity on the child and refused, leaving Kratos in Sparta to be raised by his mother. Like all Spartan younglings, Kratos was monitored and trained for combat by the Spartan authorities. Those who were deemed fit were to stay and be trained as Spartan warriors. However, those who were deemed unfit would be sent to the mountains to fend for themselves. Already feisty and aggressive at a young age, Kratos trained together with his brother Deimos, who was also a demigod. Together, they dreamed of joining the Spartan army together when they grew up. Around this time, Zeus began to hear prophecies foretelling his demise at the hands of one of his sons, a mortal known as the Marked Warrior. Hoping to change his fate before it was too late, Zeus sent Ares and Athena to hunt down the Marked Warrior, wanting to dispose of the boy who would one day rise up against him. Ares, noticing Deimos' strange birthmarks, decided to invade Sparta with an army of centaurs. Kratos tried to save his brother, but Ares struck him and knocked him into a pile of wood, leaving him with a permanent scar over his right eye. Insulted by the mortal's defiance, Ares prepared to kill Kratos, but was stopped by Athena. The goddess reminded Ares that they had what they were looking for and apologized to Kratos before disappearing in a burst of flames. The loss of his brother left a permanent mark on Kratos, and he vowed to never falter again. Honoring his brother's memory, Kratos had himself tattooed in the exact image of Deimos' birthmark. He would later forget that it was Ares and Athena who took his brother from him, and wouldn't realize it until much later. As Kratos came of age, he became a respected member of the Spartan army, eventually marrying Lysandra and having a daughter named Calliope. However, shortly after her birth, she fell ill, causing the Spartan authorities to deem her weak. Spartan law required that she be thrown into a chasm and left to die. Determined to save his daughter, Kratos set out on a journey to find Ambrosia after hearing of its exceptional healing capabilities. However, unbeknownst to Kratos, Ares had chosen him to be his champion in the Wager of the Gods, a contest with the ultimate goal to capture the Ambrosia, and the wager's victor would have statues erected in their honor all throughout Greece. A battalion of Spartans accompanied Kratos on his quest, including Captain Nikos. Along the way, Kratos encountered a healer who gave him the Flames of Apollo. Later on his journey, he encountered Poseidon's champion, Herodias, and killed him as the Spartans conquered his army and stole their ship. Enraged at Kratos for costing him the wager, Poseidon unleashed numerous hazards at sea in the hopes of killing him, but failed. Later on, Kratos encountered Artemis's champion, Phthia, and killed her as well, with her army also falling victim to the Spartans. In fear that Kratos would defeat his champion as well, Ulrich, Hades sent a torrent of fire through the sky. Although he failed to kill Kratos, he succeeded in killing many of Kratos' men, including Captain Nikos. Eventually, Kratos found the Ambrosia and encountered Ceryon, Helios' champion, killing him as well. Finally, Ulrich, Hades' champion, arrived, and his barbarian army battled the Spartans for the Ambrosia. After a grueling battle between the two leaders, Kratos successfully captured the Ambrosia at the cost of his own men and summoned an army of rocks to continuously torture Ulrich. Kratos then returned to Sparta and healed his daughter, obtaining the rank of captain from the king of Sparta. At some point after becoming a captain, Kratos would command a young soldier named Atreus, who remained hopeful even in the darkest times. When the day came for Atreus to lay down his life in battle, he did it without hesitation and saved many others, earning Kratos' respect. Kratos then carried Atreus home and personally buried him with full honors of Spartan custom, acknowledging him as the only Spartan who ever had a smile on his face, even in battle. Years later, Kratos became a Spartan general, winning many battles against other armies with brutal but effective tactics. However, his pride and hunger for power grew greater with every victory. Despite his wife's pleas, Kratos vowed to continue his bloody conquests until the glory of Sparta was known throughout the world. Due to this, he spent very little time with his family. Kratos and his Spartan army finally met their match when they encountered the merciless barbarian tribes from the east that numbered in the thousands, led by Kratos' old enemy, the former champion of Hades, Ulrich. Outnumbered and overpowered, the Spartans quickly found themselves on the losing end of the battle, with Kratos himself left at the mercy of Ulrich. In an act of desperation to save his life and refusing to accept defeat, Kratos called out to Ares, the god of war, offering his allegiance in exchange for victory. Ares accepted the offer, proceeding to kill all of the barbarians and giving Kratos the Blades of Chaos as a sign of his servitude, permanently binding the blades to him by searing the chains onto his arms. Immediately after receiving them, he used the blades against Ulrich and decapitated him in a single strike, ending the battle in Sparta's victory. For a time, Kratos served Ares loyally, raiding villages, slaughtering innocents, and spreading chaos in his name. Under the god of war's influence, Kratos became utterly ruthless and gradually lost any semblance of the humanity he once had. One day, during a raid on the village, Ares secretly transported Kratos' family, Lysandra and Calliope, to the village's temple. Ignoring the village oracle's warnings, Kratos entered the Temple of Athena. He slaughtered everybody inside in a fit of blind rage, including his wife and child, whom he believed were still in Sparta. Ares justified this as a means of severing Kratos' remaining attachments to the world, thereby molding him into the perfect warrior. Stricken with horror and grief at what he had done, Kratos left the bodies of his family to be burned within the temple, ultimately renouncing his allegiance to the god of war. The oracle cursed Kratos, forcing him to forever wear the ashes of his dead family on his skin. From that day onwards, Kratos became known as the Ghost of Sparta, his skin now pale as the moon from the ashes that coated him. To other mortals, the knowledge of his past actions often repulsed them to the point where they would rather die than allow him to save their lives. He became known as the personification of cruelty and selfishness. The stories about Ghost of Sparta would spread even outside of Greece, as even Mimir, the Norse god, knew who Kratos was. Realizing that he had been blinded by anger and manipulated by Ares, Kratos decides to seek revenge, breaking his oath to the god of war. God of War, Ascension. Sometime after breaking his oath to Ares, Kratos appears to be in his house. All of a sudden, a shadow appears and tries to talk to him, even though Kratos attacks it. The shadow tries to calm Kratos down so they can have a conversation. Behind the man, Kratos' wife appears, and the warrior desires to go with her. However, the shadow stops him in his tracks and gives him 2 items. As he explains, the Furies are tormenting Kratos, and these illusions aren't real. The Furies are 3 sisters born from an ancient war between the gods and the Titans, and their duty is to capture those who have broken their oaths. The items Kratos received help him see the truth, and now the scenery dissolves into a new one. The shadow reminds Kratos that he has broken an oath to Ares, and that is why the Furies want to torture him for eternity. However, there is a way to break free from them and the oath he has made to Ares. The shadow senses that the Furies are nearby, but before he leaves, he prompts Kratos to go to Delphi to meet the Oracle. She can assist him in his next steps. Although Kratos faces many obstacles, he finally makes it near the Tower of Delphi. There, he has to face more enemies trying to kill him, but he eventually is able to reach the temple. Upon entering, he's met by a creature called Castor. The creature asks Kratos to present his offering, but he has nothing for the creature. The creature states that nobody can see the oracle without offering something of value, but Kratos insists. The creature has its slaves attack Kratos, but they're scared of him and just run away. This means that Castor has to take matters into its own hands. The creature engages in a fierce battle against Kratos, but it's eventually defeated. As the creature lies dead, Kratos approaches it and steals the amulet of Ouroboros from it. Unfortunately, Kratos realizes that the Oracle has been attacked by Castor, and what's more, their battle has completely destroyed the place, leaving the Oracle injured. Kratos tries to use the amulet to treat her, but the Oracle tells him that the artifact does not work on her. At that time, Kratos sees his dead wife lying on the ground just in front of his eyes. The Oracle understands that his mind is in trouble and warns him that the Furies will stop at nothing as long as they hold his oath to Ares. If he wants to break free, he has to defeat the Furies. Kratos knows that this is not going to be an easy task and wonders how he can defeat his enemies when all he sees is an illusion. Thankfully for him, the Oracle has some good advice to offer. She tells him that he needs to go to the Lantern of Delos. Once he goes there, he should look for the Eyes of Truth. As the name implies, the eyes will always show him the truth, no matter the illusions the Furies try to induce him in. Kratos also learns that the shadow that spoke to him was Orcos. Kratos knows the name well and reveals that Orcos is a Fury as well. Despite his worries, the Oracle assures him that Orcos is on his side and he is to be trusted. After leaving the Temple of Delphi, Kratos goes to the harbor of Kira, where he is met by Orcos. Kratos blames him for being a coward because he hides behind his shadow form, but Orcos replies that if they had not taken the time to understand one another, Kratos would have killed him at first sight. The warrior wonders why Orcos is helping him. Why is he turning against his own kind? Orcos begins narrating his story and reveals that Ares wanted to mold the perfect warrior in the past, so he mated with the Fury Queen, Alecto. Out of that action, Orcos was born, but he was a disappointment because he was never meant to become a warrior. Ares did not care about him, but his mother spared him and made him assist them in their works. However, Orcos realized how unfair Kratos' oath was, and that made him question his family and their purpose. The Furies used to apply fair punishments on their prisoners, but Ares corrupted them and made them cruel. Orcos also revealed that Ares wanted to overthrow Zeus and become the king of Olympus himself. Soon, Kratos sails to Delos. The sailors are quick to drop him off because they believe the place is cursed. Kratos starts looking for the Eyes of Truth, but this island is not short of enemies. While he fights against dozens of them, Kratos realizes that he has to reach the lantern in order to find the eyes. This time, the Furies decide to appear as well, since Kratos is able to defeat all of their minions. A huge battle breaks out between Kratos and two of the Furies, Megara and Tisiphone. During the battle, Kratos chops Megara's hand off. While the battle rages, the third Fury, Alecto, destroys the path to the lantern, but Kratos finally manages to kill one of them, Tisiphone. Alecto decides to get involved and puts Kratos down. Then, Tisiphone also appears, revealing that the one Kratos killed was just an illusion in his mind. Alecto asks Kratos to join them willfully. If he works with them, maybe he can become a god in Olympus one day. However, serving Ares again is out of the question for Kratos. Orcos decides to get involved in order to help Kratos, surprising the Furies. After saving him by teleporting him away, Orcos tells him that he has to find another way to get to the eyes and gives him another object to assist him in his quest, the Oath Stone of Orcos. Kratos is able to find a solution to his problem, and he uses the amulet of Ouroboros to restore the statue of Apollo. That enables him to jump in it and find the Eyes of Truth. Soon after, Kratos encounters the three Furies again. Kratos tries to fight the Furies, but they are stronger than him, resulting in them stealing all of his items and imprisoning him. Kratos gradually regains consciousness, only to find himself restrained by chains. Megara pays him a visit and starts torturing him. She proclaims that she has more suffering to put him through. Her sisters are way too gentle to him, but she is different. As she hits him several times, Kratos sees an opening and uses her attacks to break his chains. He's able to break free and attack Megara, who decides to run away from him. Kratos goes after her, but he can't directly get to her as the Fury has many tricks under her sleeve. First, she has her little flying creatures merge with several prisoners to attack Kratos. Once Kratos defeats them, Megara calls a giant creature to fight him. However, not even this is enough to stop Kratos. Now angrier than before, he goes after Megara with the sole purpose of killing her. However, getting to her is no easy task, as Megara's creatures keep attacking him. In any case, Kratos deals with them and ends up in a room where a few beautiful women wait for him. The women are quite excited to see him, as they believe the gods rewarded them with a champion this time. Kratos is surprised to see them fighting each other to gain his attention, until one of them grabs his hand and pulls him along. Nevertheless, Kratos sees a ring with an Omega symbol on her finger and realizes that this is nothing but an illusion. He attacks the woman, and his actions result in the illusion being broken. Megara attacks him, but Kratos eventually manages to defeat her. While she's lying dead, Kratos retrieves the amulet of Ouroboros from her, the same amulet she stole from him when he was imprisoned. Kratos eventually escaped and manages to find the Oath Stone. Then, he starts looking for the Furies, but he ends up inside a house where his wife is waiting for him and his daughter is sleeping. After kissing his daughter, Kratos goes to bed with his wife, but he sees the Omega ring again and he understands that this is nothing but an illusion. Indeed, Alecto assumes her true form and again invites Kratos to join them. If he does, this can be his life. However, Kratos knows that this is always going to be an illusion, and it's worthless, as he can never really get his wife and daughter back. At the same time, Kratos sees that Alecto is carrying the Eyes of Truth. Since their conversation is leading nowhere, Kratos attacks Alecto, but she holds him back. Nevertheless, Kratos uses the Oath Stone to create a shadow of himself and steals the eyes from Alecto. Now, the final battle begins. Both sides are determined to fight to death, but Kratos is the one who eventually thrives. First, he kills Tisiphone, even though she tries to play games with him and takes the form of his wife. Then, Kratos deals with Alecto while she tells him that he's not going to be free even if he kills her. After killing all Furies, Kratos returns to his house in Sparta. There, he's met by his friend Orcos, who reveals to him that there is something else he must do in order to be free. Despite killing the Furies, his bond to Ares is still active because his mother made Orcos the Oathkeeper of his bond. In order to be set free, Kratos has to kill Orcos. The warrior doesn't receive the news well, and he recounts that he has spilled enough innocent blood already. Orcos tells him that he was never the warrior he was expected to become, but he now asks Kratos to give him an honorable death. Kratos eventually agrees and kills him. He then decides to burn his old house down, along with the dead body of Orcos, setting on a new adventure to bring vengeance to those who caused him so much pain. God of War, Chains of Olympus. Although Kratos is now free from the Furies, he is still tormented with the truth of his past. Therefore, Kratos decides to faithfully serve the gods of Olympus for the next 10 years, hoping that in this way he can redeem himself and his past sins can be forgiven. By the way, if you are enjoying the video so far, click that subscribe button down below. It really means a lot. Look, even Kratos agrees. Anyway, 5 years after he began his service for the gods, Kratos is sent to the city of Attica, which is being attacked by the Persian army. Kratos begins his battle against the Persians and kills many of his enemies until he is faced by a large creature called Basilisk, which belongs to the Persian king. Kratos showcases his skills and temporarily defeats Basilisk, with the creature falling back and moving away from Kratos. The warrior runs after it and sees the creature climbing further into the walls of Attica. Kratos follows Basilisk before it's too late and manages to get near it even though the Persians try to stop him at every step he makes. Eventually, he has one final battle with Basilisk and is able to kill the beast. Despite this, Kratos is not yet satisfied, as he was expecting more battles. He turns his gaze to the skies and asks the gods if this is all they have for him. At that moment, something strange happens, and the sun falls from the sky. With no sun to light the earth, the whole scenery goes dark. Kratos can't wrap his mind around what's happening, so he decides to investigate. Reaching the cliff of Marathon, he encounters the fog of Morpheus, the god of dreams, and assumes that he has something to do with this. While he wanders around trying to get to the temple of the sun chariots, Kratos starts hearing a flute sound in his head. This sound is familiar, as it is a melody that his daughter used to play in the past. After dealing with several obstacles, Kratos finds the temple, and Athena, the goddess of wisdom, speaks to him through a statue. Kratos requires to know what is going on, but Athena focuses on telling him that Olympus needs his help. Kratos states that he's tired of helping them, and that he has already done enough. On the other hand, Athena tells him that he's going to earn his freedom one day, but for now, he must remain obedient to the gods and do as they ask of him without questions. Then, she reveals that this is all caused by Morpheus. As it appears, this darkness has caused many of the gods of Olympus to fall into deep slumber. If this goes on for too long, Morpheus will overthrow the gods and assume the ultimate power. Apart from that, the whole world will start dying if the shadows stay forever. To achieve his plan, Morpheus has kidnapped the god Helios from the sky, so what Kratos needs to do is to find Helios and get him back in the sky. Kratos goes looking for Helios, but instead he finds his sister, Eos. The goddess thanks Zeus for aiding Kratos to reach her, but the Spartan warrior clarifies that the gods are not assisting him at all. Hearing his bitter words, Eos advises him to be patient and find her brother. Kratos learns that Helios has been abducted by the Titan, Atlas, who is probably working with Morpheus. Unfortunately, Eos does not have the slightest idea about where Kratos may find him. However, she prompts Kratos to follow a passage and get a hold of the primordial fire, saying that it will guide him to Helios. Kratos is able to find the primordial fire, but before finding Helios, he finds the Sun Chariot. As he tries to release the chariot, he's overwhelmed by memories of the past. Specifically, he recalls how he used a knife to make a flute for his daughter. But these pleasant memories are interrupted by memories of chaos. Kratos sees himself butchering dozens of people, even women and children. As he loses control of himself, an old woman laughs at him as if she was messing with his mind. When the memories start fading, Kratos gets trapped in another dimension as he descends to the underworld. The world of Hades is not exactly a friendly place. Various creatures of different shapes and forms attack him, but they are unable to kill the Spartan warrior. Soon, Kratos finds the Gate of Hades, the place where the souls of the dead are kept. There, Charon the ferryman comes for him, but he recognizes that it's not yet the time to take Kratos. Charon proclaims that the two of them share a common fate because they are both slaves to the gods. However, Kratos states that he is a slave to nobody, even though Charon has a different opinion. The ferryman prompts him to leave, but Kratos has a mission to fulfill, and he's not going anywhere until he finds what he is looking for. Their argument leads to a battle, but this time Kratos loses. Charon tells him that he chose his path and throws him into the deepest parts of the underworld, Tartarus, to be imprisoned. When Kratos wakes up, he realizes he is chained against a wall. Nevertheless, he is strong enough to escape and start exploring Tartarus. Of course, escaping Tartarus is not going to be a piece of cake for him. Thankfully, Kratos encounters the Temple of Zeus and sees Zeus's gauntlet on a statue's arm. Kratos takes the gauntlet and it proves to be a valuable weapon for him. While exploring, Kratos ends up in the jail of the Titans. Long ago, Titans were defeated by the gods, and they were sent to the underworld to be kept as prisoners for eternity. However, there is one prisoner missing, Atlas. Kratos decides it is time for him to leave this prison, and he uses his blades to climb the walls of Tartarus until he is free. He circles back to the Gate of Hades, and then enters it once more. Charon is there again, and proclaims that the gods have shown mercy to Kratos because he is their slave. Kratos replies to him that the chains of Tartarus could not contain Atlas, same as they could not contain him. Furthermore, he warns Charon that this time he's not going to show him mercy, and their battle begins. Indeed, Kratos is able to pin Charon down, and with the help of the Gauntlet of Zeus, Kratos adds one more kill to his collection. Right next, Kratos also acquires the mask that Charon was wearing, Charon's Wrath, to further assist him in defeating his enemies. The Spartan uses Charon's boat to travel further into the underworld, and he begins seeing the light of Helios illuminating the darkness of this dimension. As he reaches closer to his goal, he hears that familiar flute sound again, but this time he finds something more. He sees his daughter playing the flute. Kratos tries to call for her, but Calliope runs inside the temple. After dealing with several roadblocks, Kratos makes it into the temple, but his daughter is nowhere to be found. Instead, he sees Persephone, the queen of the underworld. Kratos requires to see his daughter, and Persephone assures him that she is well. In fact, she does not live with the rest of the dead because she is a pure soul. Pure souls live in Elysium. Kratos asks Persephone to lead him to his daughter, but the goddess reminds him that the gods of Olympus need him right now. Kratos exclaims one more time that he has served the gods well, but they are not giving him what he is asking for. Persephone starts narrating her own story and reveals why she is not fond of the gods. She was outcasted by Zeus and tricked by her own husband, Hades, to descend into the underworld and become the queen of the dead. Despite what she feels about them, she reminds Kratos that if Morpheus prevails, it will not just be the gods who will die, the whole world will be destroyed. However, Kratos makes it clear that what happens to the world does not concern him, and what he truly wants is to stay here with his daughter. Persephone tells him that she can give him what he wants, but he has to be purified before he can enter Elysium. She prompts him to cast his weapons on a nearby tree and allow his nightmares to be released. Kratos abandons his weapons and enters Elysium, where he meets his daughter and tells her that he's not going to abandon her ever again. However, this has all been Persephone's plan all along. She only wanted Kratos to give up his weapons. As she walks near him, she says that she has observed humans for millions of years, and there's a common pattern with them. They always do what is in their best interest, without ever thinking about the rest. This is what Persephone counted on to get Kratos to come here unarmed. She reveals that she was the one who released Atlas, and he's now completing the task she gave him, to destroy the Pillar of the World. With the pillar destroyed, Olympus will fall. The problem is that the Elysium is going to be destroyed as well. Now, Kratos is faced with the most difficult choice of his life. If he wants to save his daughter and keep her alive, he has to leave her, breaking the promise he just made to her. Although Calliope begs her father to stay with her, Kratos decides to leave and stop Atlas. However, Persephone intervenes and prepares herself for a battle with Kratos. While the two of them fight, Atlas keeps working on destroying the pillar. Kratos realizes this, so he finds an opening to abandon the battle and stop Atlas. Using his powers, Kratos manipulates the chains around Atlas's hands and pins them on the world. Now Atlas is trapped and he is burdened to hold the world on his shoulders. Then, Kratos returns to his fight against Persephone and finally kills her. Atlas tells Kratos that he made a mistake and he's going to regret what he did here today. On the other hand, Kratos states that his path is clear now and he will continue serving the gods, hoping that they will keep their word and redeem him of his past. Atlas believes that the word of an Olympian is no good, but he can't do anything about it anyway. After saving the entirety of humankind, Kratos rides the sun chariot and restores the sun in the sky. After doing so, he falls from the sky onto the earth. As he lays there unconscious, he's approached by Helios and Athena. Helios comments that Kratos did a good job, and Athena agrees with him, saying that he's a good servant of the gods. After they take his weapons, Helios wonders if they should help Kratos, but Athena tells him that he will live. God of War 1. The original God of War game takes place around 5 years after the events of the previous game. Kratos has been serving the gods of Olympus for almost 10 years now, and the story begins with him being on yet another mission given to him by his masters. This time, he is trying to kill a mythical creature called Hydra, which has been terrorizing the sea for a long time. Kratos tries to fight the beast, but it is way too strong. Although he is able to hold it back for a little while, Kratos has a quick meeting with Poseidon, who reminds him of his mission. Being aware that Kratos is going to need some help, Poseidon grants him some of his strength. When Kratos returns to the battle, he sees Hydra eating the crew of a ship. These men beg the gods for help, but their prayers are not answered. However, Kratos kills the beast by using the skills offered to him by Poseidon. With the beast killed, he enters its mouth and finds the ship's captain. The captain is glad because he thinks Kratos came to save him, but the Spartan warrior is only interested in taking the key from the captain's neck. As Kratos roams around the ship, he sees the dead bodies of several men and women, an image that reminds him of his own bloody past. A few short flashbacks show him slaughtering people, while an old woman laughs at him. This is the same flashback that Kratos was having during the previous game. Kratos is desperate to escape these visions, but no matter what he does, they do not go away. One night, Kratos calls for the goddess Athena, and she speaks to him through a statue. Kratos tells her that he has served the gods well, and it's time for them to help him with his visions. Athena asks Kratos to help her with one final mission, and then his past will be forgiven. As she informs him, Ares is attacking the city of Athens, but she can't go against him because the gods have forbidden each other from engaging in battle. A god can't fight another god. If anybody has a chance of stopping Ares, that would be Kratos. He agrees to help Athena in this last mission, and he sails towards the city of Athens. Once he arrives there, he witnesses the chaos that Ares is causing. After fighting against several enemies, he stumbles upon Medusa. Athena talks to Kratos, prompting him to bring her Medusa's head and promising him that she's going to grant him the ability to use her head. Indeed, Kratos kills Medusa, chops her head off, and then uses it to defeat his enemies. While he runs around Athens trying to find a way to stop the attack, he sees the god Ares in his giant form and promises him that Athens is going to be his grave. A few moments later, Kratos stumbles upon a man digging a grave in the midst of the battle. The gravedigger mentions that he sees a man carrying the blades of chaos and whose skin is pale as the moon, so this probably means that he is the warrior Athena sent. Kratos can't understand what is going on here, but the man says everything will be revealed at the right time. He also tells Kratos that if everything seems to be lost for him at some point, the man will be there to assist him. Right next, Kratos encounters a woman who asks for his help and decides to save her. Once they are both safe, the woman touches his face and is able to see into his past. Kratos sees a flashback of his younger self. His tactics were ruthless and he was feared by everyone except for his wife. His wife once asked him when he would stop fighting, but Kratos replied that he would only stop when the glory of Sparta would be known all across the world. However, his wife believed that he was not doing it for Sparta's glory, but rather to satisfy his own ego. The flashback ends as Kratos moves away from the woman who seems to be the Oracle of Athens. The Oracle wonders why Athena sent such a troubled man to help them, but in any case, she accepts her will. The Oracle tells Kratos that if he wants to defeat Ares, he needs to find Pandora's box. To find it, he must travel away from Athens and to the desert. However, she warns him that many men have searched for Pandora's box, but none of them have returned alive. After getting to the desert and surviving several attacks, he finds a big horn and blows into it. The sound of the horn brings forth the Titan Kronos, who is carrying the Temple of Pandora on his back, a punishment inflicted on him by Zeus. Kratos has to climb the walls of the temple for 3 days until he reaches the top. There, he is met by a keeper who advises him to go back where he came from. The man explains that the gods have placed Pandora's box in this place in order to make it impossible for humans to get a hold of it. Despite this, many soldiers come here to give it a try, and all of them ended up dead. With that said, the man wishes Kratos good luck and goes about his job. As Kratos enters the temple, he sees memories from his past from when he made a deal with Ares in order to defeat barbarians. Back in the present, Kratos tells the Harpy to leave his sight and prompts it to deliver a message to Ares. That he's no longer his slave, and the god of war will never be safe as long as Kratos walks the earth. After searching the temple for a while, Kratos enters the final room and gets to Pandora's box. This room is not only filled with traps, but Kratos is also attacked by a wave of monsters. Eventually, he takes the Pandora's box, and Athena tells him that he needs to rush back to Athens in order to defeat Ares. However, the god of war senses that Kratos has gotten the box, and he doesn't plan to allow him to use it. The god grabs a large piece of wood and launches it at Kratos, impaling him and pinning him to the wall. As he is dying, the Harpies steal the Pandora's box from him. Kratos falls into the underworld, but he's not ready to give up just yet. He starts fighting the beasts of the underworld while he tries to find a way out. Although he is unable to find a path that would lead him into the world of the living, a hammer with a rope tied to it descends out of nowhere. Kratos jumps on this opportunity, grabs the rope, and climbs upward. Eventually, he returns back to Athens, popping out of the grave that the mysterious man was digging earlier. The man says that Kratos is right on time, while the warrior wonders, how does this man know so much? The gravedigger tells him that they need to have this conversation at another time, and as he disappears, he reminds Kratos to kill Ares and the gods will forgive his sins. Soon, Kratos finds Ares holding Pandora's box and speaking to his father, Zeus. The god spots Kratos, but he's not worried about him, even though he has come back from death. Kratos plays it smart and he attacks Pandora's box so it falls from Ares' grasp. Then, he opens the box and releases the power of gods, absorbing it and becoming a giant like Ares. The two of them start fighting with everything they have. Realizing that he is losing, Ares plays another trick on Kratos, teleporting him to a psychic dimension. There, Kratos sees his wife and daughter, but there are also a few clones of himself appearing, trying to kill his family. Kratos defeats his clones and tells Ares that he will not take his family from him again. However, Ares is able to control Kratos and detaches the blades from him, stripping him of his weapons and magic. Kratos is returned to Athens, and just as Ares is about to kill him, he finds a sword left for him as a gift from the other gods. After a fierce battle, Kratos eventually kills Ares, and the city of Athens is saved. Afterward, the gods do what they promised and they forgive Kratos' sins. The Spartan asks them to remove his visions too, but Athena tells him that they never promised that. Since he can't escape his nightmares, Kratos decides to commit the unthinkable by jumping from the highest mountain of Greece into the Aegean Sea. However, the gods of Olympus had other plans for him. Athena raised Kratos from the water and back onto the cliff, stating that someone who had accomplished what he had could not be allowed to die by his own hand. As a form of gratitude for serving the gods, Athena offered him the vacant throne of Ares, as well as the blades of Athena as replacements for the blades of Chaos. Ascending the steps of Olympus, Kratos makes his way to the throne room and takes Ares' throne for himself. From then on, Kratos would be known across all of Greece as the mortal who ascended to godhood and became the new god of war. God of War, Greek Comics. Sometime after becoming the god of war, Kratos heard the news about Ares' loyal subordinates who were planning to revive their master by using the magical potion, the Ambrosia. The Ambrosia is a healing potion concocted by the god of healing, Asclepius, which was used in the past by Kratos to cure his daughter of a plague infection. Kratos immediately rushes off to Tartarus, finds a better way to avoid any obstacles, and then destroys the Ambrosia before it's too late. In his journey, he managed to conquer a giant monster named Arachnid, and several times was approached by Athena, who tried to warn him of the dangers that lay in Tartarus. Kratos, however, ignored Athena's warning and thought to himself how nothing could ever stop him in his path. Continuing the search, Kratos finds a corpse of the Spartan soldiers who died during their clash against the army of Hades back when Kratos was trying to find Ambrosia. Now, the corpses of the Spartan armies have risen again, and they were trying to kill Kratos in revenge for leaving them behind in the past. Kratos managed to kill all the soldiers and successfully arrive in the Tree of Life. He also met Aegus and burned him to death using the flame of Apollo. Kratos then left the area, knowing that Ares' followers will hunt him down for ruining their last opportunity to revive their fallen god. God of War, Ghost of Sparta. The fourth game of the series, Ghost of Sparta, takes place sometime after God of War 1 and the comic. The game begins with Kratos sitting on his throne. Even though he is a god now, he is still haunted by his visions. Several flashes of the past bring him back memories of a woman asking for his help and a young boy who carries a red mark on his eye, similar to the one he has. Kratos senses that this is not just an ordinary vision, but that there's more to it. To find the answers he is looking for, he decides to sail towards the Temple of Poseidon, which is located in the city of Atlantis. Athena speaks to him via her statue, advising him to stop because there is nothing for him to find. However, Kratos knows that the goddess is lying and tells her that this is a vision he can change. Athena tries to talk him out of it, but her own words imply that Kratos is right and that there are secrets that the gods do not want him to find. While Kratos talks with Athena, a few unwelcomed guests board the ship. These are the soldiers of Atlantis who try to stop Kratos from reaching his destination. After defeating the Atlanteans, Kratos has to deal with another enemy, the mythical monster, Scylla. After winning the battle against the beast, Kratos finds the Temple of Thanatos, which has been placed in that location by the gods themselves. This temple can provide passage to the domain of death, where Kratos hopes to get some answers. While browsing the area, Kratos finds the Temple of Poseidon and enters. There, he sees a shadow of himself when he was a kid playing with his brother Deimos. A shadow of their mother calls for Kratos to go inside and bring Deimos along. When Kratos walks further inside the temple, he sees his mother, Callisto, lying there. Callisto reveals that his brother Deimos didn't die back when they were kids and is actually still alive. He is currently kept in the domain of death, being tortured by Thanatos. Kratos asks his mother why she never told him anything about this, but she replies that the father of the boys prevented her from saying anything. This prompts Kratos to wonder who his father really is. Before giving him more information, Callisto asks Kratos to help his brother. The task is not going to be easy, but Deimos needs him. Finally, Callisto leans into his ear, and for the first time, Kratos learns who his father is, the king of the gods, Zeus. After the revelation, Callisto turns into a monster that does not recognize her son anymore. Kratos has no choice but to fight it, and after he defeats it, Callisto transforms back into her human form. Kratos lifts her in his arms, feeling bad for what he just did. On the other hand, Callisto says that she's finally free. Before she dies, she asks Kratos one more time to go to Sparta, find Deimos, and help him. At this point, Kratos is enraged, and he destroys the entire Atlantis before continuing on his path. When he finds a statue of Athena, Kratos speaks to her and blames her for not telling him that his brother is alive. In fact, he blames all of the gods for it. Athena does not speak to him, so Kratos turns around to leave. But as he does, Athena decides to show up and advises Kratos to not let his rage blind him. Then, she tells him that if he continues going down this path, all of the gods will try to stop him. However, Kratos doesn't want to hear any of it, so he destroys the statue. Later, he arrives at the Mounts of Aronian, where he finds a few dead Spartans. When he approaches one of the dying men, he is recognized as their lord. Soon, Kratos finds out who is responsible for this massacre: Erinis, the daughter of Thanatos. She tells Kratos that his brother belongs to them and immediately attacks him. However, Kratos is stronger than her and manages to kill her. Right next, Kratos makes his way to Sparta, where he is welcomed warmly. As he walks through the streets, Kratos sees two boys playing around, which triggers more of his memories about Deimos, and he promises that he's going to free his brother. As he walks near the Temple of Ares in Sparta, Kratos sees a few men pulling the statue of Ares in order to bring it down. The general informs Kratos that they're going to replace the statue with one of his. The general also asks Kratos to wait for him because he needs to give him something. As he walks, Kratos enters the temple and sees another statue of Ares, reminding him of what he has become. All of a sudden, Kratos is attacked by a shadow of his child self, which blames him for letting Deimos go. After defeating the shadow, Kratos figures out that he needs to go back to the ruins of Atlantis in order to find a way to enter the domain of death where Deimos is being kept. Before he leaves Sparta, he is met by the general, who gives him his old Spartan weapons, a shield and a spear that compiled together are called the Arms of Sparta. While Kratos fights against multiple enemies, Thanatos possesses one of the dead bodies in order to speak with the Spartan. The god of death warns Kratos to stop his expedition because all of the gods are against it. However, Kratos does not care and warns Thanatos to not stand in his way. Eventually, the god of death tells him that if this is the path he wants to pursue, not even the fates will be able to stop him from killing Kratos. After this short conversation, Kratos returns to the sunken city of Atlantis, where Athena appears as well and tries to change his mind. She tells Kratos that his brother had to be taken because he was a threat to Olympus. Kratos makes the connection and realizes that Athena was present that night when the gods came to take his brother. Kratos tells her that she should have saved Deimos, but Athena clarifies that she was only there to save Kratos. Kratos is disappointed in her because he thinks she's only feeding him with lies and riddles, prompting her to return to Olympus and leave him to do his job. While Kratos is looking for the domain of death, everybody tries to stop him, but no matter what kind of creature attacks him, they're unable to kill him. After a while, Kratos finds a gate and enters the domain of death, a place that exists between the world of living and the world of the dead. It is something like a purgatory ruled by Thanatos. Naturally, Thanatos recruits his monsters to try and stop Kratos, but they are unable to do so. He is the god of war after all. Kratos finds the place where his brother is being kept a prisoner and manages to save him. Nevertheless, it seems like Deimos has some bitter feelings towards his brother. He says that Kratos is responsible for everything he went through and that he was supposed to protect him. On top of that, Deimos attacks his brother and the two of them start fighting. Deimos overpowers Kratos and starts beating him up, but at that moment, Thanatos appears and grabs him. As he walks to the edge of a cliff, Thanatos tells Kratos that he's going to suffer for killing his daughter before flying away with Deimos. Even though he is seriously injured and tired, Kratos finds the strength to get back up in order to follow them. Soon, he finds Thanatos, who's trying to kill his brother by pushing him off a cliff. Deimos is hardly able to hold on, but Kratos gets to him right on time. He grabs his brother's hand before he falls and pulls him back up. Kratos offers his hand to his brother and Deimos grabs it, making amends with him and their past. Then, Kratos gives the Arms of Sparta to his brother and tells him that the battle is not over yet and they still need to find Thanatos. The two Spartans soon find the god of death, who bursts into laughter when he sees them. He talks about the prophecy of the oracle, which said that a mortal with a mark will bring the destruction of Olympus. Furthermore, he says that Ares chose the wrong brother that night, since Kratos should have been the one taken. In any case, none of that matters now, because, as Thanatos says, They are just pawns in a larger game, and none of the decisions Kratos makes are his. Kratos refuses to believe that he is just a pawn, but Thanatos explains that whatever the gods decide, the fates make it happen. Eventually, the brothers start fighting against Thanatos, who proves to be a strong opponent. After some time, Thanatos manages to land a good strike on Deimos, and the soldier drops dead. Kratos, infuriated by this, unleashes his true power, overwhelming Thanatos and finally killing him. Then, he takes his brother to a grave dug by the gravedigger, a mysterious man Kratos met in the previous game. After allowing his brother to rest and decorating his grave with the arms of Sparta, Kratos walks to the edge of the cliff, wondering what he has become. The gravedigger gives him the answer to that, saying that he has become Death, the destroyer of worlds. Right next, Athena appears and tells Kratos that he's left behind everything that was tying him to the world of the mortals. Now, he's ready to truly become a god. She touches him with her arms in order to help him assume his full god energy, but Kratos removes her hands and asks her if all of this is just a game to her. Finally, Kratos leaves and returns to his throne in Olympus. In the meantime, the gravedigger has dug 2 more graves and brings Callisto in one of them, before remarking that now only one remains. God of War Betrayal. God of War Betrayal is a 2D mobile game, but it still fits in the overall God of War story. Enraged after everything that has happened, Kratos leads the Spartan army against Greece and wreaks havoc everywhere he can. Fearing his wrath and not knowing when he will stop, Zeus sends a mythical beast, Argos, to stop Kratos. But the beast soon falls dead. However, as we learn, Argos wasn't killed by Kratos, but rather by a mysterious assassin who frames Kratos. The Spartan embarks on a journey to find this mysterious assassin, and his path is filled with many battles. Hades is angry at Kratos, along with all the gods, and he sends his minions to kill him. Zeus decides to intervene as well in order to limit the chaos by sending a divine messenger named Syrinx. Syrinx delivers a message from Zeus directly to Kratos, telling him that he needs to stop and acknowledge the destruction he has caused. Instead of stopping, Kratos challenges Syrinx to a battle and ends up killing him. In the meantime, the assassin who killed Argos uses this time to hide. In the aftermath of these events, Kratos realizes that killing Syrinx is like challenging the gods, and he knows that Zeus is going to come after him. God of War 2. God of War 2 continues the story of the Spartan warrior and picks up immediately after the events of the previous game. Kratos has returned to his throne on the Mount of Olympus after his latest battles in Greece. He is still being tormented by his visions, and his hate towards gods is only growing. He expected them to help him get rid of his nightmares, but they didn't help. The God of War has found meaning in joining his Spartan army and assisting them in conquering several great cities. At the same time, the other gods continually grow tired of him because Kratos refuses to play by their rules. At some point, Athena approaches him and warns him to stop defying the gods because he will just end up making more enemies. Kratos does not listen and instead joins the Spartan army on the island of Rhodes. He participates in the battle in his god form and wreaks havoc all over the island, just like Ares was doing back in Athens. All of a sudden, a large eagle flies above the island, and it lands on Kratos, absorbing some of his god energy. Kratos assumes that the eagle is Athena and asks her if she is betraying him. The eagle flies on top of the great statue of Colossus and channels some energy into it in order to animate it. As the statue starts moving, Kratos becomes small like a human again, even though he is still a god. Now, the Spartan has to fight against both the soldiers of Rhodes and the huge statue. At some point, the skies open and Zeus addresses Kratos. The Spartan tells Zeus that he does not need his help, but Zeus is not here to assist him directly. Instead, he provides Kratos with the Blade of Olympus, a weapon Zeus had forged himself in the past to defeat the Titans and win the Great War. The King of the Gods says that the only way to defeat the statue is for Kratos to channel his godly energy on the Blade of Olympus. Kratos decides to use the blade, and after a fierce battle, he finally defeats the statue. However, he makes a mistake and turns his back to the statue in order to address the gods, telling them that nobody can defeat him. At that moment, the statue collapses on top of him and injures him severely. Furthermore, the large eagle lands near him, and it is revealed to be Zeus, who decided to intervene himself, as Athena refused to do so. Zeus explains that the blade he gave Kratos absorbed all of his god energy, so he is now just immortal again. Upon being asked why he is doing this, Zeus replies that he has to kill Kratos before the Spartans kill him, as he doesn't want to share the fate of Ares. Finally, Zeus impales Kratos with the blade and then unleashes a huge attack which evaporates the whole Spartan army. Seeing this, Kratos promises Zeus that he's going to pay for this, but as he speaks those words, he dies. The arms of Hades drag Kratos to the underworld, but as he descends, a woman's voice speaks to him, saying that he needs to fight. While Kratos sees several visions, the characters in those visions all speak to him in that same woman's voice. Finally, Kratos floats in front of Gaia, a titan who tells him that it is finally time for them to make their move against the gods. Before the visions end, Gaia tells Kratos that he needs to find the fates and rewrite history. Kratos comes back to his senses and starts fighting against the hands that are trying to drag him down to Hades. Once Kratos escapes their grasp, he sees Pegasus, the mythical horse that can fly, coming to his aid. Kratos rides Pegasus and urges it to take him to Olympus, but Gaia's voice explains to him that he can't go to Olympus because he's not a god anymore. Instead, he has to go find her brother, Titan Typhon, and ask for his help. Kratos finds the Titan imprisoned under a mountain, but Typhon refuses to help him. On the contrary, he traps Pegasus and forces Kratos to explore on foot. Not long after, the Spartan encounters another Titan, Prometheus, whom the gods have trapped in a human form. As Prometheus explains, Zeus has imprisoned him here because he helped mankind by giving them the fires of Olympus, which was considered treason by the king of the gods. His punishment now is to be consumed by a cursed bird every day. But every night, Prometheus heals and the bird eats him again the next day. The former Titan begs Kratos to get him out of his misery by burning him in the fires of Olympus. Kratos goes back to Typhon, blinds him, and steals his bow, which he uses to free Prometheus. The former Titan burns in the fire, and he's finally free of his torture. As he does, Kratos absorbs the energy generated by this, and Gaia tells him that he can use it in battle. Right next, Kratos frees Pegasus, and they fly away until they reach the island of creation, where the Spartan confines the Sisters of Fate. Gaia warns him that this island is going to be packed with traps and enemies because it has been designed to prevent anyone from reaching the Sisters. At some point, Kratos wonders, why is Gaia even assisting him? She replies that Zeus needs to be stopped, and she starts narrating the past. Titan Kronos was the father of Zeus, but he received a prophecy from the oracle that his children would go to war with him. Thus, he decided to trap his children in his belly. However, his wife, Rhea, felt sorry watching her children being eaten by him, so she decided to save Zeus by having an eagle take him away. Then, she replaced Zeus with another baby and Kronos ate it, assuming that he was eating Zeus. Gaia was the one to raise Zeus after that and look after him. When Zeus grew up and became strong, he wanted to free his brothers and sisters, but instead of just going to war with Kronos, he betrayed all the Titans. Back to the current timeline, Kratos browses the island of creation to find the sisters, and has a few interesting encounters. One of them is with the mythical hero, Theseus. As it appears, Theseus is now working for the Fates, protecting them from outsiders who desire to use them. The hero tries to talk Kratos out of his plan, but as always, Kratos is not interested in listening. In any case, Theseus wants to use this opportunity to find out who the greatest warrior of Greece is. But, unfortunately for him, Kratos is a better warrior and kills him. Later, he has an encounter with one of his old rivals, the Barbarian King. The Barbarian King explains that he was able to fight his way out of Tartarus and changed his fate himself. Despite this, he's still looking for the sisters so he can return to the world of the living. His plan is cut short though, as Kratos battles him and defeats him. But that's not the end of Kratos' weird encounters. He also meets Perseus, who is looking for the sisters in order to get his loved one back. Perseus believes that meeting Kratos is a test for him, and if he passes it, the sisters might agree to listen to him. Nevertheless, just as all other people Kratos encountered, he is easily defeated and killed. But then, the Spartan encounters Icarus, who is also looking for the sisters. Icarus takes him on a free fall towards Tartarus, but Kratos is able to fight him mid-air and steal his wings. However, his problems are not over yet, as he is soon trapped by his old foe, Titan Atlas. Atlas is not happy to see Kratos, and wants to get revenge on him from trapping him, referring to the events of the Chain of Olympus game. However, Kratos is eventually able to change his mind when he tells him that he's not the same man Atlas knew. He's no longer a servant to the gods. Instead, he's planning to travel back in time and use the Blade of Olympus to kill Zeus. When the blade is mentioned, Atlas recalls the Great War. The Titans fought with all their might against the gods of Olympus because they knew that humanity would be doomed if they were ruled by the gods. Despite their efforts, they were defeated when Zeus forged the Blade of Olympus between the heaven and the earth and used it to banish them to Tartarus. After telling his story, Atlas decides to assist Kratos and gives him a lift back to the island of creation, wishing him success. Upon returning to the surface, Kratos finds a man and forces him to read a passage that speaks to the sisters. Then, he kills the same man to use his blood as a sacrifice. One of the sisters appears in front of Kratos, but she tells him that he needs to do more in order to gain an audience with them. Since he came back to life like a phoenix, the Fate asks him to find its ashes and set the phoenix free. Kratos does as he is told, and he frees a phoenix. Then, Kratos meets with a fallen Spartan soldier who is also trying to find the Sisters of Fate. The soldier informs Kratos that in his absence, Zeus attacked Sparta and killed everyone. He was one of the few Spartans to escape, and he came here hoping to alter the course of history. After the soldier dies, Kratos rides the Phoenix to the Temple of the Fates. There, he is met by one of the sisters, Lachesis, who tells him that although he has amused the Fates, there's nothing for him here. She says that the sisters can control his fate as well, but Kratos does not like that and replies that he controls his own fate. Lachesis believes he's a fool, and she starts fighting with him along with another sister, Atropos. Even though these sisters are powerful, Kratos is able to defeat both of them, and he proceeds further into the temple. As he enters the loom chamber, Gaia explains to Kratos that Clotho is the sister who controls the threads of life, and he has to find his own thread. If he does, he will be able to control the Mirrors of Fate and return back to the moment when Zeus killed him. Eventually, after killing Clotho, Kratos does exactly that and manages to return to the past. This time, Kratos surprises Zeus with an attack and gets a hold of the Blade of Olympus. Zeus thinks that the Fates helped Kratos, but the Spartan tells him that the Fates are dead. Zeus takes Kratos to a divine arena where their fierce fight begins. After some battling, Kratos tricks Zeus into coming near him and pins him down using blades. Then, he tries to finish him off with the Blade of Olympus, but Athena suddenly intervenes. As Kratos unleashes another attack against Zeus, Athena jumps in front of him and gets impaled by it. This buys Zeus enough time to escape, while Kratos wonders why Athena did sacrifice herself for Zeus. Athena clarifies that she is sacrificing herself for Olympus, not for Zeus. This is because if Zeus dies, then Olympus is doomed. She also says that Zeus is doing everything he's doing out of fear, and she reveals that Kratos is his son. Kratos proclaims that he has no father, while Athena dies in his hands. After this, Kratos returns to the Chamber of the Fates to use the mirrors once more. This time, he travels back to the time when the Titans were free. Gaia tells him that she was expecting him, but they are not strong enough to defeat the gods just yet, and the Spartan agrees with her. However, Kratos explains that in his time, the future, Zeus is weak, and Ares and Athena are already dead. This is why he teleports the Titans to his timeline, in order to finally defeat the gods. In the meantime, Zeus has arranged the meeting with all the other gods. He gives them a speech trying to unite them and assures them that he will wipe out their enemies. But in that moment, the Mount of Olympus starts trembling, and the statue of Zeus is destroyed. The Titans are climbing the Mount Olympus, seeking the destruction of the gods, along with their new ally, Kratos, the former god of war. God of War 3. Picking up right where the last game left off, this game begins with the gods preparing for their war against the Titans. Although gods aren't in the best position, they are still incredibly strong, and one of them quickly dashes towards Titans and knocks one of them off the mountain. At the same time, a beast made of water attacks Gaia and prevents her from climbing. The Titan asks Kratos for help, and the Spartan starts fighting against the beast. While the battle unfolds, Poseidon, the god of oceans, appears, and Kratos challenges him to a battle. Poseidon is one of the strongest gods, second only to Zeus, so Gaia tries to help Kratos defeat him. She grabs the god with her arm and pins him against the mountain for Kratos to unleash his attacks. However, despite all of this, his attacks are not strong enough to kill him. As the two of them continue fighting, Kratos is able to detach Poseidon from the monster he is riding and bring him down to his human form. Eventually, Kratos manages to damage Poseidon enough and completes the task of killing it. He throws Poseidon off the cliff, but his death causes a flood to overwhelm the whole of Greece. Right next, Gaia helps Kratos climb on top of Olympus, and the two of them are ready to face Zeus, who is patiently waiting for them. After a brief conversation, Zeus uses a powerful thunderbolt to knock them both off the mountain. Gaia tries to hold on, and Kratos tries to hold on to her. The warrior pleads with Gaia to help him because he can't hold on any longer, but Gaia tells him that she has to fight the war against Olympus. Kratos reminds her that they're together in this mission, but Gaia replies that Kratos was just a pawn in the game of the Titans. While Gaia tries to climb back up, Kratos falls from her back and ends up in the river Styx, back in the underworld once again. When he emerges from the river, Kratos knows he is back in Hades, but he also knows that the underworld was never enough to hold him back. At the same time, the spirit of Athena appears, and she informs her brother that she has ascended to a higher existence after she sacrificed herself to save Zeus. Furthermore, she exclaims that she is able to see things more clearly now, and that Zeus must die if they want humankind to evolve. She reveals to Kratos that there's only one way to defeat Zeus, and that he needs to find the flame of Olympus because it's the source of Zeus's power. If Kratos finds the flame, the Olympus will fall. Athena also gives Kratos the Blades of Exile to help him survive. Then, Kratos finds a trapped man named Pirithous, who asks him to set him free. Kratos does free him and the man offers him his bow. Then, Kratos is welcomed in a big hall by the three judges, who judge all the souls that come to Hades. One of the judges finds Kratos unworthy, while another finds him worthy. The final judge, King Minos, tells Kratos that the underworld is not ready for him yet, and prompts him to find his destiny. Later, Kratos finds a statue of Pandora, and he retrieves the Blade of Olympus from it. Hades also speaks to Kratos from the depths of hell, and the Spartan challenges him to face him. Hades is not going to appear, but he assures Kratos that they're going to have some time to play soon. While Kratos tries to find a way out, he stumbles upon the divine blacksmith, Hephaestus, trapped in his own prison. The blacksmith blames Kratos for his misery, but the Spartan replies that he's done no wrong to him. Then, Kratos asks Hephaestus about the flame of Olympus. The blacksmith has heard of the flame and states that all the children of Olympus have come to respect its power. Finally, he tells Kratos that if he can find a way out of the underworld, then he will be able to find his way to the flame. There is one caveat though: nobody, god or mortal, can touch the flame. Kratos leaves the blacksmith to find his way out, but he's intercepted by the god of the underworld. Despite the strength of Hades, Kratos is stronger and eventually kills him, leading to all souls from the underworld being released. After killing Hades, Kratos returns to Hephaestus, where there is a Hyperion gate. The blacksmith tells him that he will need the soul of a god to use the Hyperion gate, and also narrates his own story. He used to be the best craftsman of Olympus, and Zeus rewarded him by having him marry Aphrodite. Together, they had their daughter Pandora, but the day Ares was killed, Zeus changed, and he kidnapped his daughter. Hephaestus spends his time trying to recreate Pandora, but he fails again and again. Finally, he says he senses that Pandora is alive, and asks Kratos to help him. However, Kratos is not interested, as he's only concerned about his own mission. Soon, Kratos finds another Hyperion gate, and the spirit of Athena appears in front of him to remind him of his mission. He uses this gate to travel back to the city of Olympia and finds Gaia hanging on the mountain. The Titan asks for his help, but Kratos reminds her that she refused to help him when he needed it. Although she tries to convince him, Kratos cuts one of her hands to retaliate and then pushes her off the mountain. Elsewhere, Kratos witnesses Kronos fighting with Helios. The Titan grabs Helios and tosses him savagely on the mountain. Kratos runs to him, but the god is protected by his loyal servants. After defeating all of them, Helios begs Kratos to spare his life, and he will reward him in return. Kratos asks him for the flame of Olympus, and Helios replies that he needs to take the flame with his hands. Kratos does not believe him because Hephaestus told him that anybody who touches the fire dies. Eventually, it becomes pretty obvious to Helios that Kratos is not going to spare him either way. The god tries to fight, but Kratos kills him by removing his head from his shoulders. Right after the god of sun is killed, the sun disappears and darkness covers the earth. Right next, Kratos continues his search for the flame and soon finds it. He is drawn to it and almost touches it, but Athena's spirit appears and holds his hand back. Athena also shares a story with him. While the gods and the titans were fighting the Great War, the great evils of the world were born, such as fear and greed. Zeus instructed Hephaestus to create a vessel that could contain the evils, and therefore he created Pandora's box. When Kratos opened the box in order to become stronger and kill Ares back in God of War 1, he also unleashed the evils. When Zeus saw him killing Ares, the fear released from the box was able to grip the king of gods. Lastly, Athena tells him that the only way to get the box out of the flame is to find Pandora. Kratos starts looking for her, and soon after, Hermes, the god of travelers, appears and starts taunting him. Hermes is not exactly in the mood for a fight, and he mostly mocks Kratos while running away from him. However, Kratos is eventually able to catch him, and Hermes is killed when the Spartan cuts his legs in order to get his speed boots. Then, Kratos encounters goddess Hera, who is not really fond of her husband Zeus, but still refuses to help the Spartan. Therefore, she calls Hercules to stop Kratos. The Spartan tries to tell Hercules to stay back and not start this fight, but Hercules is jealous of Kratos because he believes he is Zeus's favorite son. Hercules wants to kill Kratos because the Spartan has gotten so much glory, but as these things usually go, Kratos defeats and kills him. Then, the Spartan continues on his journey, but when he speaks to Pandora near one of her statues, he realizes that Zeus has gotten to Pandora first. However, Pandora utters some last words and tells Kratos that he needs to find the labyrinth. Soon after, Kratos encounters Aphrodite and asks her about this labyrinth. She explains that the labyrinth made by Daedalus is hard to navigate, so if he wants to have a chance at it, he needs to go find her husband Hephaestus. Kratos uses a Hyperion gate to go back to Hephaestus, who now shares his real backstory. When he created the box, he knew that the best place to hide it would be the flame of Olympus. But with the box, he created a key. This key took life and became Pandora. Over time, they grew to love one another as a father and a daughter. To protect his daughter, Hephaestus lied to Zeus and told him that the best place to hide the box was at the back of the Titan Kronos. When Kratos found the box and killed Ares during God of War 1, his lie was uncovered, and Zeus banished him to this place. Hephaestus asks Kratos to go find the Omphalos stone so he can forge a new, stronger weapon for the Spartan. Kratos soon finds the stone, and Hephaestus makes him the new weapon, and he also tries to kill him. After a brief fight, Kratos kills Hephaestus, whose last words are for Kratos to spare his daughter. Upon returning to Olympus, Kratos is met by Hera again. The goddess blames him for all the destruction he is causing. Now that the sun is gone, the plants are dying. Furthermore, she seems to believe that Kratos is strong, but his simple mind will never escape the labyrinth. Kratos leaves, but soon encounters Hera again. However, this time, he doesn't want to listen to her words anymore, so he kills the goddess. When he enters the labyrinth, Kratos sees Daedalus, who has been imprisoned by Zeus. The architect of the labyrinth confuses Kratos with his son, Icarus, and starts giving him instructions on how to navigate the maze. Kratos finds Pandora, frees her, and he takes her upward to the chamber where the flame is located. On their way, Pandora talks to Kratos about fear and hope. Once they are near the flame, Pandora wants to jump in it, but Kratos has changed his mind and holds her, saying that he will find another way. However, Zeus finds an opening and intervenes. After a short talk with Kratos, their battle begins. As they fight, Pandora runs towards the flame, but Kratos tries to hold her once more. Despite his attempts, Pandora ends up in the flame and an energy wave is released. With the box now in the Spartan's reach, Kratos opens it, only to realize that the box is empty. Zeus laughs at him and calls him a failure before disappearing. Soon, the two of them meet again, and they're ready to put an end to their rivalry. However, before that can happen, they're interrupted by Gaia, who now wants to kill both of them. To save themselves, Kratos and Zeus jump into her body, and they start fighting inside of her. Kratos uses this opportunity to get his revenge on both of them at the same time by impaling Zeus with the blade of Olympus against the heart of Gaia. Although the Titan is killed, Zeus's spirit is still alive, and it gets a hold of Kratos, transferring his spirit inside a psychic dimension. Zeus intends to show Kratos what true fear is, but instead, the Spartan finds hope when Pandora appears as a vision and delivers a powerful message to him. Finally, he dives into a pool of blood to confront his demons using the power of hope. Using this power, Kratos returned to his physical form, regained his godly powers, and, no longer needing the Blades of Exile, mercilessly beat Zeus to death, finally achieving the vengeance he had sought. The death of Zeus plunged the Greek world into total chaos. Kratos stood atop the cliff, looking out at the horizon after realizing what he has done. Athena then came to congratulate him and said that humanity was now ready to hear her message. Kratos was left confused, as her message would seem to be worthless to a world that had been utterly destroyed. Whatever her intentions, Athena asked Kratos to give up the power he claimed from Pandora's box. But Kratos tells her that the box was empty. Athena then explained that after the Great War ended, Zeus put all the evil forces of fear, greed, and hatred in Pandora's box. But as a form of prevention whenever the box was opened, Athena also inserted another thing into the box. The most powerful weapon ever, the power of hope. Athena realizes that when Kratos opened Pandora's box for the first time, the evil power housed within it came out and spread throughout the Greek world, infecting the gods of Olympus and turning them into individuals filled with greed, hatred, and fear. That's why ever since Ares was killed, Zeus was always filled with fear and became so obsessed with killing Kratos. All that time, Athena thought the power of hope that she had placed inside the box never came out. However, she was wrong. While the evils transformed the gods of Olympus into beings filled with hatred, the power of hope from the box came out and hid within Kratos, allowing him to kill Ares. But the power of hope was buried deep within Kratos, trapped under his guilt. After Pandora led him to forgive himself for his past, the power of hope that was in Kratos finally came out, allowing him to kill his father. Athena asks Kratos to return the power of hope to her, but Kratos, overwhelmed by grief over Pandora's death and the destruction of the Greek world caused by his selfishness, refuses to return it. Instead, he takes out the blade of Olympus and uses it to impale himself, horrifying Athena. As a result, the power of hope gets released into the world, so that the mortals would be able to endure the destruction and rebuild without relying on the gods. This makes Athena furious. She curses Kratos, claiming that mankind will have no idea what to do with this power. She then tells him that she's disappointed with him, only to be met with a mocking grin and a weak chuckle from the Spartan. Athena pulls the blade of Olympus out of Kratos' body and tosses it aside before disappearing and leaving him to die. However, despite his injuries, Kratos realized that he couldn't die, being cursed to be unable to end his own life. With nothing left for him in the ruins of his homeland, Kratos crawled down the mountain and sailed away from Greece, going into self-imposed exile. God of War, Fallen God. After discovering that he is still immortal and is cursed to walk the earth forever as punishment for his terrible deeds, Kratos found the Blades of Chaos again, which haven't been seen since his fight with Ares. He attempted to get rid of them by tossing them into the sea, stating that even if he were doomed to an eternity of deathless misery, he could at least get rid of the blades. As he wandered into a nearby cave to sleep, the blades reappeared somehow, impaled in the rock when he awoke. Determined to have solitude and be rid of his curse, he sets sail, tossing the blades away yet again. As he finally reaches an island, he wanders for days without sleep until he eventually succumbs. Once again, the blades return to him, and again he disposes of them. Soon, he wanders into a village, its inhabitants being aware of his legend, and there he meets an old man that tells him that everyone is afraid of him because they know he is the ghost of Sparta. He also says that he is in the land of the pharaohs, but his destiny is not staying there. Kratos tells the old man to leave him alone and pushes him away, but the man proceeds to tell him more about his destiny. Later, Kratos continues his journey and is attacked by two jackals. After the fight, he stops at an oasis to rest where he meets a baboon that talks to him about his destiny, although at this point, Kratos is convinced that he is losing his mind. After continuing his journey for a bit longer, Kratos eventually falls asleep, and it is then that the Blades of Chaos reappear once again. While sleeping, Kratos has a dream where he was in an unknown place. There, he encounters a statue of Athena who tells him that they're not through yet, and then he must return home to embrace his destiny and fulfill his purpose. However, Kratos refuses, figuring she was the one responsible for returning the blades to his side and demanding that she leave him alone. After waking up, the same old man he had encountered before asks Kratos if he found the answers he sought, only for the Spartan to answer that he is cursed and this is his own personal hell. The old man then tells Kratos that he will be needed soon and to prepare himself for the battle to come. However, Kratos refuses to listen and hurls his blades into a lake before venturing on his own again. Eventually, Kratos would return to the same village he entered months before with these same fearful expressions. As it turned out, the villagers had prayed for salvation as a large crocodilian-like monster known as the Chaos Beast is attacking the village. Kratos questions why the villagers prayed to gods to save them from monsters, stating that the gods are monsters, and monsters don't answer prayers. The old man returns and says that perhaps Kratos was the answer to their prayers, and states that it's written he would return. Having had enough of the villagers begging him, Kratos walks away, threatening to kill them if they don't leave him alone. The old man tells Kratos to stop and asks if he could show mercy upon them, just as he would have wished mercy upon his lost loved ones. The man tells Kratos once again that he cannot outrun destiny, and that the past will always be with him. Having had enough talk about his destiny, Kratos lashes out, saying he's had enough of others telling him what to do, and that only he can decide his own destiny. As the Chaos Beast approaches, the old man questions if Kratos is willing to let the villagers die just to delay the inevitable for a short while longer. Kratos simply answers that he wants to be left alone. Before he could continue, however, the old man disappeared upon turning his head. At this point, Kratos starts to question if he's finally gone mad, and whether any of this is real at all. Finally, the Chaos Beast confronts Kratos, and the Spartan demands it to leave him alone in his misery. The beast only growled at Kratos, which ultimately provokes him into fighting the creature. Kratos lunges at the Chaos Beast, destroying several of the village's houses in the process, before getting pinned to the ground. The Chaos Beast then tries to devour Kratos in its jaws, but the Spartan kills it by tearing its upper jaw off while shouting in rage. The villagers then re-emerge from hiding to look at the damage done by Kratos' battle before fleeing in terror once again. Frustrated, Kratos questions if the villagers would ever be satisfied and states that the monster they fear is already dead. The mysterious old man appears to Kratos again, stating that his purpose has not yet been fulfilled. Noticing that he appears and disappears rather quickly, Kratos asks him if he's even here at all. The old man responds that it only matters that Kratos hears him and sees the threat looming over him. Suddenly, a much larger Chaos Beast emerges from the river and begins attacking. The old man then states that the hour of Kratos' need has finally come. Growing wary of the situation, Kratos shouts that he doesn't care about the villagers or his time of need. Desperately wanting to be left alone and for his torment to end, Kratos decides to turn back and lunge at the beast. He tries punching it in the nose, only for it to prove ineffective before being sent flying into a mountain by a powerful kick, knocking the Spartan unconscious. Once again, Kratos wakes up in a dream realm where he's confronted by Athena and the Egyptian god of wisdom, Thoth. They tell him that he's outran his destiny for far too long and that he must embrace it. Kratos becomes furious over the fact that he's cursed to forever use the Blades of Chaos, and that it is his purpose in life. Upon grabbing the blades, Kratos awakens and slashes at the Chaos Beast. The attack actually manages to cut through the beast this time, but he gets kicked once again. However, he uses the blades to ground himself before cutting off the beast's leg. Kratos then uses the blades to slice the beast even further, before finally killing it by slicing its head off. Afterwards, Kratos collapses, and the old man, now revealed to be Thoth, tells him that he's fulfilled his purpose. The Spartan then laments on how rage and bloodshed are his curse, and how he's trapped in a cage of his darkest emotions and constantly reliving his worst nightmares before moving onward. God of War, Lore and Legends. Centuries after the destruction of Olympus, Kratos lives a secluded life in the Northlands. the realm of the Norse gods. It is revealed that the chaos caused by Kratos only destroyed Greece instead of the entire world, and that different mythologies are separated by location, all coexisting on the same planet despite contradicting one another. After 75 years of solitude, Kratos met Faye, a fierce warrior from a sundered realm, and engaged her in battle. Unbeknownst to Kratos, she was a giant despite her normal size. The fight was brief as they shared world wariness. Soon after, the two got to know one another and eventually fell in love. 10 years later, they built a cabin in the wild woods. Furthermore, Kratos divulges his past to his wife and hides the blades of chaos in the basement, still being unable to be rid of them. 22 years later, Faye gave birth to a son named Atreus. Although she initially wanted to name him Loki, the name Atreus was suggested by Kratos as it was the name of a soldier Kratos once knew, a soldier who always remained hopeful even in the darkest times. The boy was raised mainly by Faye, who taught him how to hunt and how to read the Nordic language, among other things. Also, Kratos would forbid Atreus from ever going down into the basement because he wanted to keep the blades of chaos and his past hidden. Per Faye's request, Kratos never took Atreus hunting since the boy was constantly sick. When Faye spoke about the Aesir gods, Kratos decided to listen to her stories on the off chance they ever came looking for him. In an effort to practice control, Kratos would often test himself by venturing into the woods in search of enemies. While Faye thought Kratos was looking to pick fights, Kratos was actually seeking to control his rage by not fighting and only deflecting attacks until his enemies tire themselves out. At first, Kratos failed repeatedly, but in one instance, he encountered a pack of wolves and succeeded in fending them off. However, a troll appeared and was able to push Kratos to the point he lost control and slaughtered the troll with ease. This caused Kratos great anger, as he was failing his personal mission. He would continue to test himself, resulting in him not being home very often. This led Atreus to believe that Kratos does not care about him or Faye. God of War, Norse Comics. One day, Faye leaves to go hunting, leaving Atreus and Kratos at home. Kratos instructs Atreus to stay behind and chop wood as he heads off to find another challenge for his rage control. He soon comes across a giant bear attacking an old man, and Kratos fails to control himself, violently killing the bear before walking off, blaming the old man for his loss of control. He leaves him for dead, returning home as another group of men watch him pass through an illusionary wall cloaking his home. Kratos returns to find Atreus playing with toys instead of chopping the wood. But before he can scold the boy, the group of men arrive and begin to speak to Kratos in their language, which he cannot understand. Atreus now translates and reveals that the men have come to take revenge on Kratos, blaming him for their brother's death. Kratos denies killing anyone, claiming that he only killed a beast. However, the men soon transformed into bear-like creatures and engaged in battle. Kratos defeats the creatures, killing one who is threatening Atreus with an axe. When another man threatens to go to bring the rest of his clan to the house, Kratos chases him, bringing Atreus along. Frustrated at losing the man's trail, Kratos begins to feel his rage boiling inside, but he is able to control it just as he tries to teach Atreus to control his own fear. Atreus suggests that the pair visit the seer, who may know more about the clan of beastmen. Kratos agrees, and Atreus leads the way. Once they arrive at her hut, Kratos speaks with the seer, who reveals that the men are known as berserkers, who receive their strength from their own fury, focusing it through a totem they worship. Kratos asks the location of the totem, and the seer only states that she can reveal the location through a ritual she must perform. Kratos and Atreus wait outside for her answer, and she soon shows them the way to the totem, warning Kratos that he must control his own anger in order to defeat the berserkers. Kratos leaves Atreus with the seer and journeys to the berserkers' camp where he finds their sacred totem. While Kratos tries to sneak past the sleeping berserkers to destroy their leader, one awakens and alerts the rest as they transform into their bear-like forms. Kratos' rage immediately burns white hot, and he attempts to fight the horde, only to find their own strength surpassing his. Finding himself unable to use his brute strength alone, Kratos remembers the seer's words and calms himself, controlling his rage. Thinking quickly, Kratos manages to destroy the totem, transforming the berserkers back to their human forms. Then, he easily kills them before burning their encampment to the ground. Back in the seer's hut, the old woman gives Atreus a mysterious knife, telling him that he must use it soon. Before he can ask what she means, a berserker arrives in the hut and attacks the seer. Kratos arrives shortly after and snaps the man's neck, instantly killing him. As she lays dying, the seer asks Kratos to take care of her remains, before warning him that while he is able to defeat his enemies with ease, one day he'll have to conquer himself. Kratos exits the woman's hut, and he and Atreus build a funeral pyre for the seer's body. As they walk back home, Kratos tells his son, as well as himself, that from now on, he will handle the fighting from their next adventures on the forest. Man, Kratos had to travel through 3 different mythologies and had a kid before you even subscribe to this channel, but you still have the time to make that right. Thanks. God of War 2018. Several years after the events of the Norse Comics, Faye died from unknown circumstances and requested that her family take her cremated ashes to be spread from the highest peak in the 9 realms. Although deep down, Kratos cares for his son, their relationship is a bit strange. He never calls Atreus son, instead he calls him boy. After gathering some wood, Kratos and Atreus return home and they prepare Faye's body for cremation. Kratos offers his son a knife that belonged to his mother and takes him to hunt deer. Once they find one, Atreus takes the shot and drops the deer. The deer is not dead yet, and Kratos wants his son to finish what he started. Atreus feels uncomfortable doing that, but Kratos holds his hands and helps him drive the knife into the deer. On their way out, they meet several weaker monsters, which Kratos defeats without much effort. He also notices that his son can't control his anger, and he gives him a lecture about it when they get back home. His plan is to make his son ready for their trip because they have to honor Faye's last wish. However, suddenly, a stranger comes to see Kratos and does his best to make him angry. Kratos lashes out at the man, but the stranger shows his true strength. The 2 men fight hard against each other until Kratos throws a huge rock on top of him. Even though he thinks the job is done, the stranger is somehow still alive, almost as if nothing Kratos does can hurt him. They continue their battle, and in the end, Kratos puts him in a chokehold and snaps his neck in order to finish him off. Then he returns home and tells Atreus to gather his things because they need to leave. His son reminds him what he told him earlier, that he is not yet ready, but Kratos explains to him that they have no other choice now. All this time, Atreus is also a bit weakened because he is sick, a fact that Kratos can't yet explain. As they get started on their journey, they get attacked by many enemies on their path, starting with a crew of hungry men who want to kill and eat them. Father and son have to protect themselves, and Atreus kills one of the humans in self-defense. He feels bad about it, but Kratos talks to him and advises him to close his heart to the feelings he's experiencing right now. Later on, they see a creature that looks like a mythical pig, and Atreus shoots it. The pig runs away, and they follow it until they stumble upon a witch that is taking care of the animal. She says that this animal is the last of its kind, and has them help her get the pig back to her home. There, she tells Atreus to go outside and gather some special plants, but as it appears, she just wants to have some time alone with Kratos. The witch tells him that she knows he is a god, even though, weirdly enough, he is not from this realm. She tells him that the gods here are not very friendly, and they will make their path difficult if they find them. She also tells Kratos that he has to tell his son the truth, but the Spartan replies that she shouldn't mind her own business. The witch puts a mark on their necks so they can't be spotted by the Norse gods, and also shows them a shortcut that will take them to the mountain. However, when they arrive there, the entrance is blocked by a magic black mist. The witch appears again and tells them that they have to find the light of Alfheim if they want to dissolve the mist and make their way to the mountain. Kratos takes his son on a new adventure, and they manage to find Alfheim, one of the 9 realms of Norse mythology. During their journey, Atreus experiences migraines as he hears several voices in his head, voices that only he is able to hear. Soon, the 2 of them find the light the witch was talking about, and Kratos has to enter the light source in order to find what they came for. As he enters the light, Kratos finds an artifact, but is confused when he hears Faye's voice speaking to him in the light. Suddenly, he's pulled out by his son. As it appears, Kratos believes that he was only gone for a few moments, but Atreus tells him that he was gone for a long time. Taking a look around, Kratos realizes that his son has piled up several bodies of enemy creatures while waiting for him to return. On their way back to the mountain, Atreus blames his father for being distant and not caring for him. He also wonders if he cares that Faye has died at all, because it doesn't seem like it. Kratos loses his composure a bit and tells the boy that every man has his own way of grieving, and that he shouldn't question his grief. Soon, they arrive at the mountain and use the artifacts they acquired to clean the black mist. As they try to reach the top, they have to face more and more increasingly powerful enemies. During the journey, it becomes apparent that Atreus influences his father for the better. He sees the dragon threatening a dwarf blacksmith, and he convinces Kratos to help him out by killing the dragon, which is not something Kratos would care to do on his own. Father and son work together, and they're able to carry out their plan as a team. In return, the dwarf gives a few mistletoe arrows to Atreus. As they finally reach the top, they overhear the stranger who fought Kratos earlier speaking with a few others. As it appears, this stranger is the god Balder, known for his ability to not feel any pain. The other gods present are the two sons of Thor, and the last person is Mimir, a negotiator who's been trapped by Odin himself. After Balder and the sons of Thor leave, Kratos jumps on the top and asks his son to check if they are alone. Mimir immediately recognizes that Kratos is a god and that the boy knows nothing about it. Their short talk is interrupted, however, when Atreus returns and tells Mimir about their mission. Although they spent quite a bit of time climbing the mountain, Mimir informs them that this mountain isn't the tallest one. Instead, they have to go to Jotunheim, the land of the giants. But in order to go there, they will need assistance. Mimir says he can't escape his prison, but if Kratos can find a witch, then he can chop Mimir's head and take it to the witch to animate it. Since Kratos knows a witch, they agree to chop his head off and take it to her. As soon as they enter the witch's hut, the witch becomes visibly disturbed when she sees the mistletoe arrows Atreus is carrying, and quickly destroys them, saying that they are dangerous. Then, the witch agrees to help them and animates Mimir's head, who addresses the witch as Freya, the goddess of the north. Kratos doesn't take it well when he hears that she is a goddess, because he has no trust in the gods. He takes Mimir's head and Atreus and quickly leaves her home. On their way, Mimir explains that in order to enter the land of the giants, they will have to find a magic chisel. During their travel, the team is eventually ambushed by the sons of Thor. Atreus is excited to be fighting against the gods, but gets confused when Kratos actually kills one of them, as that shouldn't be possible. While the other one runs away, Kratos acquires the magic chisel from the one he's just killed. It's at this point that Atreus starts feeling more and more sick. Later, they are ambushed by the remaining son, and trying to fight him, Atreus gets filled with rage and passes out. Kratos manages to quickly injure his enemy and sends him away running again. Since Atreus is in a really bad condition, Mimir tells Kratos to take him to Freya, and the Spartan does just that. Freya says that Atreus is sick because his true nature is fighting inside of him. In other words, Kratos needs to tell him the truth about himself and that the boy is a god. Apart from that, Freya can only save the boy if Kratos brings her the heart of the Keeper from the realm of the dead. However, Kratos realizes that he will not be able to defeat the Keeper with his axe, as it's an ice-powered weapon. He needs something hotter. Although he doesn't want to do it, in order to save Atreus, Kratos goes back to his cabin and retrieves the Blades of Chaos. It's also here that a ghost of Athena appears to him. She tells him that no matter how hard he tries to be a husband or a father, he will always be a monster. Kratos replies to her that he already knows that, but he's not her monster anymore. With his new weapon, Kratos goes to the realm of the dead, kills the Keeper, takes his heart, and brings it back to Freya. The goddess works on healing the boy, but emphasizes the importance of telling Atreus the truth. The boy suddenly wakes up and Kratos takes him to continue their journey. Now it is time to tell him the truth, and Kratos reveals to his son that he was born a god. Atreus is left speechless at first, but then he wonders if he can turn into an animal, or if he can fly. Kratos, confused, tells him that he probably can't do those things. As they face and defeat more enemies, Kratos takes some time with his son and gives him a new knife. The day Atreus was born, Kratos carved 2 knives by mixing metals from Greece and his new home. He kept one knife for himself, and he would give the other one to Atreus on the day he would be ready. Kratos believes that day is today. However, he also tells him that they are more than mere men, and that means their responsibility is greater. The two of them start getting closer to each other, but with the newfound knowledge of being a god, Atreus becomes increasingly arrogant. When they stumble upon the remaining son of Thor, Modi, he reveals to them that his father called him a coward and punished him for losing his brother. Atreus wants to kill Modi, but Kratos does not allow him to. However, Atreus seems to believe that they can do whatever they want because they are gods, and kills Modi anyway. His decision leads to a confrontation with his father, but Atreus can't tell the difference between surviving and killing. After killing many more enemies, Kratos and Atreus are finally able to open a portal to Jotunheim. However, before they can do that, they are attacked by Balder, and the gate is destroyed when Kratos smashes Balder against it. Atreus gets mad and tries to attack Balder, but Kratos holds him back because he's not ready to fight against such a powerful enemy. Atreus gets even angrier now, hits his father with an arrow, and attacks Balder. Despite his strong will, Balder abducts Atreus and Kratos has to hunt after them. While they fight, Kratos activates the Bridge of Asgard, and the three of them end up in Helheim, a realm of the dead, where Kratos fought against the Keepers before. Kratos gives his son a lecture, telling him that he's completely out of control and needs to change his path. Soon, the Helheim shows Atreus the illusion of himself when he killed Modi, and Atreus can barely recognize himself. Before they can escape, Kratos also sees an illusion of his own. In it, young Kratos is mercilessly beating up Zeus, and the Spartan is left stunned. However, Atreus brings him back to his senses, and they manage to escape Hell. Now, the last thing the team needs to get to the Jotunheim is to find Mimir's missing eye, as it has the power to open up a portal. In order to get it, they have to travel into the world's serpent's belly and manage to retrieve it. However, before they can finally reach Jotunheim, Freya appears, telling him that she is looking for her son. As it turns out, Balder is Freya's son, and she has cast a spell of invulnerability on him when he was a child in order to protect him from all harm. However, Balder now hates her because that spell robbed him of his physical sensations. After these revelations, Kratos and Balder prepare to battle each other one final time. Although Kratos manages to land some good hits, Balder is unaffected and eventually traps the Spartan. However, Atreus jumps in front of Balder and absorbs the hit. At the same time, the mistletoe arrow tip from Atreus' quiver strap is impaled Balder's hand and breaks Freya's spell. It is revealed that these mistletoes are the only things able to break Freya's spell, which is why she panicked when she saw Atreus carrying some earlier in the game. Balder, now vulnerable, has the time of his life battling Kratos, but proves to be no match for the Spartan. As Kratos stands victorious with his hands around Balder's neck, Atreus says that Balder is not a threat anymore, and Kratos spares his life. But then, Balder tries to kill Freya due to his bitter feelings, and Freya tells Kratos not to interfere. However, Kratos won't just stand there while Balder kills his mother, and decides to intervene, finally killing Balder for good. Despite saving her life, Freya is enraged and promises Kratos that she will bring hell upon him. After finally getting rid of all of their enemies, Kratos tells his son the whole truth about his past. Atreus wonders if living in chaos is what it means to be a god, but Kratos tells him that they can choose to be different, better. With that, the two of them travel to Jotunheim, and they encounter a mural that looks like a prophecy. They also learn that Faye was a giant who chose to live in Midgard, and that the name she wanted for Atreus was Loki. Kratos and Atreus scatter Faye's ashes from the highest peak in all realms, just as she wanted. After coming back, Mimir informs them that due to Balder's death, Ragnarok is coming nearly a century earlier than the prophecy. Ragnarok being an event in Norse mythology that signifies the end of the world. When they return home, father and son get some rest. Atreus has a vision of Thor coming to visit them and informs Kratos about it. However, Kratos replies that they can worry about the future when the time comes. God of War Ragnarok. God of War Ragnarok is the last game of the franchise. It takes place 3 years after the events of the previous game, when Kratos and Atreus expect Ragnarok, the end of the world, to happen soon. The characters go about their usual routine, but that routine is interrupted one day when they are attacked by Freya on their way home. Freya had promised Kratos that she would get revenge on him for killing her son, Balder. While she attacks him on their slider, Kratos and Atreus defend themselves and escape her attacks. When they return home, Atreus finds one of his wolves dead and proceeds to bury it. In the meantime, Kratos gives his son some space, but he is suddenly attacked by a large bear. The Spartan is able to defeat the bear, which now transforms into Atreus. As it is explained, Atreus was angry and that led him to lose control and transform into the animal. Kratos instructs his son to focus on healing himself and then tells him that he needs to have better control of his powers or else every time he is overwhelmed by emotions will be catastrophic. Later, father and son get a visit from Thor and Odin, who want to have a talk with them. Odin exclaims that he just wants peace, but if they are to have peace, Atreus should stop looking for Tyr, the former Norse god of war who had fought against Odin in the past. Kratos takes a weird look at his son as he had no idea Atreus was looking for Tyr. To even things out, Odin offers to get Freya off their backs should they accept the deal, but Kratos still declines due to Mimir saying that Odin should not be trusted. With that, Odin orders Thor to attack Kratos, and the two of them start fighting. Both of them are very strong, and their fight ends in a draw, with Thor flying away, leaving heavily wounded Kratos abandoned far from home. With the help of his two friends, Brock and Sindri, who prepared a gateway, Kratos quickly returns to his house to speak with Atreus. His son tells him that he's trying to figure out his true identity, which is why he's been searching for Tyr. Atreus takes Kratos and Mimir to a shrine, where he tells them that Tyr could still be alive but imprisoned. And if Odin is the one who did it, then there is something more going on. Since Tyr can prove to be an ally in their attempt to stop Ragnarok, Kratos agrees to help Atreus. After Mimir makes an educated guess, the group finds Tyr, but he has a hard time believing they are here to save him. Odin frequently plays games with his mind, and it is not always easy for him to tell reality from illusion. Eventually, Kratos roughs him up and explains to him that they came to save him because of his son. Tyr wonders why they would save him, and Atreus replies that he respects what Tyr used to stand for in the past, and that he helped the giants fight against Odin. Tyr agrees to go with them, and the group takes shelter at Sindri's home. Atreus secretly asks Sindri if he can help him find Freya. Since Sindri can, they go to Freya to have a talk with her. Freya traps Atreus when she sees him, but she frees him while the young boy speaks to her. Atreus believes that there's a war coming because Odin is making moves against them. On top of that, he found a shrine with a prophecy that predicts only the fall of Asgard. Furthermore, Atreus informs her that he is half giant and that they found Tyr. Although Freya is surprised to hear the news, she is not interested in joining their war against Odin and tells Atreus to leave before she kills him. Later, Atreus accidentally teleports to Jotunheim while he's asleep and meets with a girl named Angerboda. The girl shows him a mural that predicts the death of Kratos and shows Atreus as being a servant to Odin. Atreus feels bad when he sees this picture, but the girl tells him not to dwell in the future for now. But Angerboda has something more to show him. After taking him to the right location, she gives him a few stones, completing her mother's prophecy. Atreus wonders what these stones do, and the girl explains to him that they contain the souls of the giants. In the past, the giants had to make a choice, either wait for Odin to find and kill them, or hide. Back then, Angerboda's father helped the giants and transferred their souls into the stones. Atreus asks Angerboda if she wants to go with him to Midgard, but the girl wants to stay put because, as she recites, she disappears in the midst of Atreus' mural. Before Atreus leaves, he tells Angerboda that just because the mural is showing a future, it does not mean that it's going to happen that way. After promising to see her again, Atreus teleports back home. As soon as he sees his father, Kratos scolds him for keeping secrets. Atreus also blames his father for keeping his own secrets, but their conversation is interrupted when they are attacked by Freya. However, Freya holds back and tells Kratos that she will stop hunting him if he helps her break the magic that is keeping her bound in Midgard, cast on her by Odin. Kratos agrees to help her and they travel to Vanaheim, where they have to face multiple enemies. Eventually, the magic is broken and Freya is free. Kratos asks her what she's going to do now that she's free, and Freya replies that she's not certain if she should forgive Kratos or kill him. Despite her feelings, she knows that Kratos is not the one that needs to die. The two of them shake hands and make peace with one another. When they return home, Kratos confronts Atreus, asking him about his intentions. Atreus tells his father and everyone else that he wants to go to Asgard and talk to Odin because of something important he knows. Everyone advises him against this idea, but Atreus gets angry at them and decides to leave. In Asgard, he meets Odin, who's accompanied by Thor and another god named Heimdall. Odin is very friendly and takes Atreus on a tour of Asgard. He also convinces the young boy to work with Thor in order to get him the pieces of an ancient mask that supposedly grants infinite knowledge. Atreus finds a few pieces of the mask, but he does not give them to Odin. In the meantime, Kratos and Freya visit the Norns, 3 goddesses that resemble the Fates. As they say, the future is written by the choices everybody makes, but those choices end up being very predictable. They reveal 2 things to Kratos: that he is going to die, and that Heimdall is going to kill his son Atreus. Kratos and his group get to work, and they forge a special spear that can kill Heimdall. Then, Odin asks to have a talk with Kratos. Mostly, he tells Kratos that he's looking for peace. Additionally, Odin tells him that his son is fine, but he's in no hurry to return to his father. Upon leaving, Odin has another talk with Atreus and tells him that he needs the mask to be assembled because he wants to see what happens to him in the future. He convinces the boy to assist him further. After reading a text on the mask, Atreus assumes that the next piece of the mask is located in Helheim. Odin asks him to go there accompanied by Goddess Thrud and Heimdall. Not only the 3 of them are unable to find the missing piece of the mask, but Atreus also frees a huge wolf called Garm that is able to tear holes between realms. After leaving half of the mask with Odin, Atreus returns home and informs everyone about his mistake. While everyone scolds him, Kratos stops them and proclaims that he's going to fix his mistake with his son. Indeed, the 2 of them find Garm and they are able to kill it. When they return home again, Freya asks if Atreus has any useful information on Odin. Atreus grabs his notebook and informs everyone about the mask. Mimir believes the mask is just a myth, but Tyr assures the group that the mask is very real and that it is precisely why Odin tortured him. If somebody gets a hold of the mask, it will be like they can become one with all the knowledge in the universe. Later, Kratos stumbles on Heimdall while he tries to assist Freya, and their meeting unavoidably leads to a battle between the 2. Kratos kills Heimdall and then claims his Gjallarhorn. Once all the allies return home, they agree that the death of Heimdall is going to mean war. Atreus suggests he should go to Asgard because Odin needs him to find the missing piece of the mask. Being there will allow them to divide his focus. Although nobody likes the idea, they all agree that it is a good one from a tactical perspective. Kratos and Atreus agree to hear each other's voice in their heads if they are faced with difficult situations in order to make the right decision if things get rough. Atreus returns to Asgard and tells Odin that he read 1 word wrong on the mask's text. He now gives Odin the right translation, and the father of the gods sends Atreus with Thor to complete the mask. Indeed, Atreus assembles the whole mask, but he escapes before Thor can get his hands on it. Back home, the group decides that they should go to Asgard in order to use the mask, and if Odin spots them, they will fight him. All of a sudden, Tyr gets up and proclaims that he knows now what his destiny is. He grabs the mask and says that he will lead them to Asgard. However, Brock stops him because something is off in Tyr's behavior. He also noticed that Tyr called Atreus Loki, like the Asgardians do. Tyr stabs and kills Brock, and it is revealed that he is in fact Odin. He tries to steal the mask, but the good guys manage to prevent him from doing so before he leaves. Kratos gives the horn to Freya and takes Atreus away. Before leaving, Atreus also gives the mask to Freyr, Freya's brother. Freya tells Kratos that they need him, but he's determined to leave with his son, hoping for a better future. After an honest discussion, Kratos and Atreus go back to help their friends attack Asgard. All of them choose a destination in order to unite the whole country so they can attack Asgard. Kratos and Atreus find a creature called Surtur at the spark of the world, and they use the Blades of Chaos to help him transform in his primordial form, which is Ragnarok. All they have to do now is to sound the horn so that he can come to destroy Asgard. When the group unites again, they've compiled their armies and they are ready to move against Asgard. Kratos will be the leader of this attack, and he sounds the horn for Ragnarok to begin. As they attack Asgard, they realize that Odin has placed Asgardian refugees in their path to be killed like sheep. That makes the group change their path and go after Odin as Ragnarok is approaching. Meanwhile, Atreus meets with Thrud and her family, informing her about the innocent refugees. That makes them change their heart and abandon Odin. Elsewhere, Kratos is fighting with Thor. He defeats the god of thunder, but he does not kill him, saying that they can choose to be better. Thor is convinced to stop, but he's killed by Odin for not listening to his commands. Kratos and Atreus now have to fight against Odin, but he pins them down with a spell. Freya comes to aid them, and then they have another round against Odin. The father of the Norse gods asks Atreus to use the mask, but the young boy chooses to destroy it. Eventually, Odin is defeated, but he refuses to change, so Atreus traps his soul in stone. Sindri grabs the stone from Atreus' hands and he smashes it with a hammer. In the meantime, Ragnarok is shifted into full throttle, and he starts destroying Asgard for good. Freya's brother sacrifices himself in order to buy the group some time to escape. In the aftermath of the attack, Atreus wakes up and finds Angrboda, who leads him and his father to another mural. Before they can examine it carefully, Atreus tells his father that there are more giants alive and he needs to find them. However, this is something that he has to do alone. Kratos greets his son goodbye and Atreus leaves for his new adventure. As for Kratos, he takes a few seconds to examine the mural and realizes that he is depicted as a god of peace. Finally, he meets with Freya and Mimir and asks them to help him restore peace. God of War Ragnarok Valhalla DLC. Following the events of Ragnarok, Kratos receives a message from an unknown sender to participate in the challenge of Valhalla. He and Mimir arrive to the ascending sands at the entrance of Valhalla, from where Kratos forces his way into the lower levels of Valhalla. He fights through waves of enemies he has faced in the 9 realms, but due to him entering Valhalla incorrectly, he seemingly dies on the attempt. Kratos and Mimir are resurrected on the ascending sands, where they meet Freya and the Valkyries, who scold them for entering Valhalla. However, Kratos, avoiding Freya due to her offer to become the new Norse god of war, re-enters Valhalla through a ritual and fights through waves of scenes of his memories of the 9 realms. After several battles, Kratos has a vision of the throne he sat on during his time as the Greek god of war. He hears the voice of the Greek god of the sun, Helios, who Kratos had killed years before. Kratos blacks out and is transported back to the ascending sands, where he re-enters Valhalla again. Upon reaching the higher levels of Valhalla, Kratos finds a memory of Greece. While venturing through this memory, Mimir is replaced by the head of Helios, who taunts Kratos during this journey. Kratos enters his memory of the chamber of sacrifice he used to sacrifice an Athenian soldier during his quest for revenge against the Olympians. He faces waves of old foes from Greece, summoning the blade of Olympus to dispatch them, before preparing to sacrifice Helios. Just as Helios is about to be incinerated, he changes back into Mimir. Kratos breaks Valhalla trying to save Mimir, almost falling into a chasm, but is saved by the Valkyrie Sigrun. Kratos goes back through Valhalla a third time, this time facing the labyrinth on his journey to the Chamber of Sacrifice, but this time sacrifices himself instead of Helios. He's resurrected in front of Tyr, who Kratos finds out is the one who invited him to Valhalla to help him find inner peace. He faces Tyr in combat and defeats him, before being shown a vision of his battle against the barbarian horde, before going into servitude of Ares. The cycle of facing Tyr continues twice again, with Kratos being shown 2 more visions. The first is of his relationship with Helios prior to the vengeance against Olympus. The second being his relationship with Pandora, whom Kratos saw as an adopted daughter before her death. Finally, after defeating Tyr a 4th time, Kratos is granted a final vision of his younger self on the throne of war. Kratos, after centuries of suffering, comes to terms with his rage. He decides to become more than just a god of war, but a god of hope, taking the throne and moving past his life of revenge. Kratos then returns from Valhalla by using the gate, this time greeted by shield maidens, and finally agreeing to join Freya's council.